Howdy friends and welcome to my new video. Time management. Time has always been a problem for so many teachers, especially novice ones. They always complain that they don't have the sufficient time to cover all the lessons and units, all the tasks. They have a lot of tasks in the course book, in the workbook, and all this work that they have to do in class. So if you have the same problem, this video is for you because we are going to deal or to discuss some tips for dealing with this issue. We will start by showing you some sayings of teachers which reflect their own views about what are the main reasons for time wasting class. For each one, I want you to think about two things. One, whether this problem reflects or whether this saying reflects your own problem in class or not. Number two, think of a suggestion for this problem. What do you need to do, or what does this teacher need to do in order to deal with this issue? Pause, think, and replay. Okay, now the first saying is about confusion while students do the task. Students do not know what to do. This is a problem of planning. The teacher hasn't planned his instructions well and carefully. When you do so, you come into the class and you don't have anything in mind about the instructions, and you think about the instructions while you are giving them, while you are in class. This takes longer time, of course. And also, they are not clear instructions. So when students start doing the task, they are confused. They take longer time, or they will stop and ask you, teacher, what to do? What should we do? This means that you will repeat instructions again, which take longer time. So you can save your time by planning your instructions carefully, planning your instructions, your ICQs, and write them. Plan your CCQs, the type of feedback you will provide. Plan carefully before you come into class. The more time you spend in planning, the less time you will need in class. So this is number one. Number two is related to it. It's also about instructions and ICQs. So some teachers think that instructions in English take a long time and ICQs, so they skip ICQs. But if you do so, you skip the ICQs in order to save yourself time. Students will not do, many students will not understand what to do. So they will take longer time in the task. So this is not the solution. The solution is keeping a routine. So if you keep a routine of some activities or the common activities that you like to do in your class, students will be familiar with these activities. So if you want to do a hangman game, the first time you give clear instructions and you ask ICQs. The second time you give less detailed instructions. And from the third time on till the end of the year, you don't have to give any kind of instructions because students are familiar with the game. They know what to do without any instructions that will save you time. So keep a routine. And also, when students are familiar with instructions in English and the type of ICQ, this will take less time giving and answering. Okay, so a routine and familiarity. Okay, students take longer time in doing tasks than it should. Give them a time limit for the task. So you have only 5 minutes to do this task, or 3 minutes, or 10 minutes, or whatever. When you do so, students know exactly how much time will they have for the task and how fast they need to work. Of course, here you need to be flexible. So if while students doing things, you think that the task is more challenging than what you expected and they need more time, you can extend the time. Students will not feel that you are playing with the time, whether you extend them or you minimize them if you think that the task is easier than what you have expected. So time limit. Doing guided discovery and CCQs take a very long time. Maybe, yes, but in the beginning, this is true. When students are familiar with these types, they will take less time to do so. And also, the time that you spend in guided discovery and students find things out of themselves for themselves. This will minimize the time in the controlled practice. Because while they are doing so, they are exerting effort, mental effort, which helps them to memorize more or better than or more successful than if you are telling them about what to do or about the form and the meaning of the structure. So in the beginning, yes, but over time, they will be familiar with this. They will be used to this. Especially when it is a routine in class. When they are used to this, it will be easier for them. When students finish a task, I find out that they have a lot of mistakes and I have to deal with this again. Actually, this is your problem as a teacher because you are not to wait until students finish the task. Your role is to monitor while students are doing controlled practice or any kind of practice. You are monitoring them and giving support. So the time students are doing tasks, you are exploiting this by monitoring, by giving support, by giving help, by asking leading questions. So that makes your students' life easier and this will help them to do the task more successfully and you minimize the number of mistakes. Okay. So the next one, the text has a lot of difficult vocabulary. Yes, this is a problem of aim. The teacher here does not think carefully about his main aim. What is your aim? Is it a reading lesson or a vocabulary lesson? So if it is a vocabulary lesson, so think, which of the vocabulary in the text do you aim to practice with your students or to present and practice? And so you don't teach everything in the text. It's impossible. It takes forever. And if you have a reading lesson, think of what subskill do you aim or what subskills do you aim to teach or to practice with your students. So be realistic about what you can do. You cannot teach or do everything in one lesson. So here, some people may say that our system is exam oriented and some of these vocabulary that I will ignore because I want to practice skimming and scanning, so I don't teach all the vocabulary. Yes, you teach the vocabulary, only the vocabulary that students need to do the task, but you forget about others. What about the exam? Simply, if you have to, after students or after you practice your main aim or you achieve your main aim, you ask students, so, okay, now read the text again at home, underline the vocabulary that you are not or you don't know, look them up in the dictionary, and today in the beginning of the lesson or at the beginning of tomorrow's lesson, we will discuss this. At least you ask students to look them up in the dictionary and they will know it. So the main aim is what you achieve in class. The next one here, some texts have a lot of questions that take a lot of tasks, have a lot of questions. And this is related to the next one, which is the reading text is very long and students need too much time to do. What about jigsaw reading? I mean that if you have a text which has 6 paragraphs, so why don't you divide the class into 6 groups? And each group will do or will read only one paragraph. So group A will read paragraph 1 and do or answer only questions from 1 to 4. Group B will do paragraph 2 and answer from 5 to 8 or from 10. Like this. This means that you will minimize the time assigned for the text into 6. So instead of taking 20 minutes or 25 minutes, you may take 4 minutes or 5 minutes because this group will only read only one paragraph. And here you will achieve your aim. Students scanned or made inference or whatever. After students finish, they can ask each other about the text. So they want to answer the other questions. So ask the next group, group B, about paragraph 2, ask the group C. So they can mingle and do these tasks together. This will minimize your time. I have tasks in the course book and others in the workbook. How can I cover all those tasks? If you think that the tasks in the course book have the same aim of the tasks in the workbook and you don't have time, what about homework? So give your students homework, assign homework, and in the next day in the warmer, you check homework or you ask students to compare their answers against an answer key and they make corrections. So this will make your life easier. This will save you a lot of time. Another tip for dealing with this is coherence lesson or coherent lesson. So some of the difficulties that we face in class is because students have sometimes you come into the class and say, okay, I will not deal with do the deleting today because I don't have time. The text is very long. And you are shocked that the students took very long time in the text. Why? Because you have not prepared them for the text before. You didn't start from what the students know to what they don't know, which we call scaffolding. So scaffolding is important here. So coherent lesson. One task leads to the next and helps students with the next one. Another point here is facilities and references. If you are teaching grammar and students are doing a task, leave a reference for them to make their life easier. So after elicitation or presentation, highlighting the form, leave this on the board for them. While they are doing the control practice, they can refer to them. This will save you a lot of valuable time. They will help them to refer back to the rule and remember what if they have forgotten something. So these are all or some tips about how to deal um, with the time problem or the time issue in classroom. Let me say again the main things. Plan your lesson carefully. The more time you plan, the less time you need in class. Keep a routine in class. If students are familiar with the activities, you will take less time in instructions and they will take less time in doing the tasks. Monitor and give help and support. Scaffolding, make yourself or make your lesson coherent in order for one task to help them with the next task. And usually or always think about grouping students and how to divide the task on the groups. Hope this is useful. Thank you so much and meet you next week.